Hey everyone, so Space Jam: A New Legacy. What? What happened? Oh, you're kidding. Let's talk about it. Okay everyone, welcome back. I guess I got out of Toon World because I don't look weirdly, creepily animated. Now we can actually review the movie. Let's do it. Folks, and I'm just going to preface this by saying that I will be comparing this a lot to the original because I watched it before. The review of that is up there if you haven't seen that. And there's just a lot of apt comparisons because it is a sequel. Folks, this one attempts to add a meaningful story to the mix. The original really didn't, and this one does. It does add a meaningful story, and it's not the most original, but I did appreciate it certainly, as opposed to really nothing. I don't inherently, I know some people will just look at Space Jam having a sequel in general and discard it, but I don't inherently hate the idea of Space Jam having a sequel just because it does sort of lend itself to renewing the concept every, preferably 20 years, I think is a good time frame, because you get new, basketball stars, and as long as you can freshen up the idea, it works. Even if you love the first one, which I didn't, unfortunately. It's a bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen that review, but you would have seen it by now. You would have clicked off and watched it if you wanted to. So I didn't like that movie all that much, but the VFX are like infinitely improved on here, and that just goes to show that sometimes modernization is beneficial. I fall prey to the scope of sort of the infinite just WB properties and the fact that, I'll talk about it later, and that's obviously the main critique that I'm hearing about this film, but it's just a blast to see all these franchises that you know and love, for me at least. I'm not as cynical about it as I know that many people are and can be. I'll also say that it's sort of a better use of time. This film does have like a 30-minute longer runtime, but the original had multiple scenes that I just felt were completely useless and just slapstick comedy for the sake of filling the runtime, whereas this one actually feels like it's trying to utilize that extra fluff by padding it out with this quality content filled with all the other WB properties. The original Space Jam, I made a comment in my first video saying that if I wanted to watch Looney Tunes slapstick, I would watch Looney Tunes, and that it really didn't improve on that element of it. This one adds Looney Tunes slapstick to a variety of different worlds. It isn't just random Looney Tunes slapstick. They incorporate it into different scenarios, making it interesting. Many people have said this, but Don Cheadle is just having so much fun as a villain, and he's one of the best parts of the film, just he's hamming it up so hard. And he's having a great time. I really appreciate all the jokes and references to the OG Space Jam, and especially the Michael Jordan joke that's thrown in there if you haven't seen the film. What a great... I like it. I think it's cool. I wish actually maybe they had done it more, but the sequence where they go, specifically Bugs and LeBron at the beginning, to all the WB properties, everyone from Rick and Morty to Rick Blaine from Casablanca of all movies, it's a great sequence. I don't care what anybody says. It's fun. It's funny. You get a look. It's Looney Tunes infesting themselves in all these universes that personally I'm pretty fond of, and I think it's a great exploration of it. The basketball portion of the film, ironically, because it is a Space Jam film, but it does go on for too long. It feels like they sort of bring out the thing that will end the game. You get that moment where it's like, oh no, he's going to end it all, like 3 times for each team, really. And so that goes on for too long. Eventually some of the slapstick gets old. It's not all really necessary, but it's still a great sequence, surely. Now, the main critique I've seen of this film is that it functions entirely, it's more a product, I saw someone call it, than a movie. More product than a movie, and I don't disagree. It is most certainly used as an advertisement, but I will say this, a good ad is still good, okay? I had a good time with this advertisement. I'm not going to buy anything as a result of it, so it didn't have its effect on me. I'm sure it will on many, many others, especially kids, which is, of course, the target audience. I said this about the first review. What does it matter if I think? If it does its job, I'm sure this film will do its job. It's going to rake in the money from both the box office and advertising. Kids are going to love it. I liked this film. I had a fun time. And then I'll just say this again, in regards to the original, it really is better in every conceivable way, except for, of course, currently nostalgia. which will fade over time and possibly, creep in its place for this film. But every part of it is better. Every single part. I said again for my review yesterday that I never, well, not yesterday anymore, but have I said yesterday already? Because I wrote this yesterday. But I said for my review of the original Space Jam that I never feel a need to watch that film again. I stand by that. This one, I could definitely see myself turning it on if I wanted a film like this. I very much enjoyed it. Space Jam: A New Legacy adds much needed depth and comedy to the premise, and really it provides a valid reason for a movie like this, its existence in the first place, which I would argue the first one really didn't. It's not the best film you'll ever see, certainly, but damn if it isn't fun. Folks, I legitimately thought about awarding Space Jam: A New Legacy with an A for a while. Then, I started thinking more and more about the negatives. I think at one point when you're trying to, when you believe like the opposite of what everyone else believes, you maybe go a little too far. But folks, I am perfectly safe and reasonable. I think it's completely reasonable for this film to be awarded a B. I hope, folks, that with the success of this film, with the fact that I liked it, that they at least wait a decade, preferably, again, 20 years, 2 decades, but at least a decade before doing something like this again, because that's how long I think it would take for this to get stale and for a new one to be fresh. And you still have to adjust some of the story elements, possibly make it an actually good story, and have, new properties, whatever. Make it good. Make it a good time, make it good, and I have no problem with there being infinite Space Jam sequels 20 years apart for as long as the game of basketball or the Looney Tunes are alive. Alright folks, that's my review of Space Jam: A New Legacy. I'm not sure it was one you were expecting, if you had any expectations, of course, because many people dislike this film. I get that. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Alright folks, that's that. I'm back in Toon World. Are you serious? Okay, well, hopefully I'm not like this for next video. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.